Have you ever wondered, what if the songs sitting at the very top of your daily streaming playlists aren't actually there because millions of people genuinely love them? What if instead someone just bought their way in? Think about it. What if the digital algorithm that spoon feeds you what to listen to next isn't actually this neutral, magical DJ, but is heavily manipulated by cold, hard cash? Well, welcome to today's Explainer, because we are digging into a massive, breaking story that completely questions the foundation of how we discover modern music. All right, let's just dive right into this. So, the streaming Payola scandal breaking down the Texas investigation. Look, on April 22nd, 2026, an absolute legal bombshell dropped on the music world. We're talking about an official government investigation launched by the state of Texas into the biggest streaming giants out there. And guys, this isn't just some wild rumor floating around on a message board or a music industry conspiracy theory. No, this is an aggressive, real-deal probe from the chief legal officer of the second largest state in the US, and they are hunting for alleged payola schemes. Make no mistake, this is easily the biggest music industry scandal we've seen in decades, and it affects literally anyone who streams rock, pop, hip-hop, or any other genre online. Let's take a look at the target list, because it is a who's who of digital distribution. We've got Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, and Pandora. All of them under investigation, all at the exact same time. The state of Texas is taking a hard look at whether these platforms are secretly accepting bribes from record labels, promoters, or third-party fixers just to artificially boost certain songs and artists inside those massive editorial playlists and algorithmic recommendations we all use. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has actually taken a really firm stance on this. He stated, and I quote, "Music artists deserve to compete on a level playing field, not one distorted by bribes, and listeners deserve transparency in what they are being recommended." So, to actually get to the bottom of this whole mess, Paxton has issued what are called civil investigative demands. Now, in plain English, these are essentially legal subpoenas. They are legally forcing these massive tech companies to hand over their internal documents about how they actually promote music. Because the core allegation here is absolutely shocking. The playlist you think is perfectly curated to your unique taste might actually just be curated by cash. All right, so moving on to Section 1, the precedent. What exactly is payola? To truly grasp why this investigation is sending shockwaves through the industry, we kind of have to look back at the history here. The actual word payola, it comes from mashing up the words pay and Victrola, which, was the old school record player. The original payola scandals absolutely exploded back in the 1950s. Back in those days, record labels were getting caught slipping radio DJs envelopes of cash under the table to spin specific records. A DJ would play a song hundreds of times, not because the listeners were begging for it, but because the label quietly bought that airtime. And when the public finally found out that their favorite hit songs were being bought rather than genuinely earned, there was massive outrage. Congress literally had to step in and make the practice a federal crime. DJs actually went to jail over this, and labels had to pay some extremely hefty fines. So, let's contrast that 1950s radio payola with 2026 digital payola. Back in the day, the gatekeepers were human radio DJs, right? People who could physically be bribed with envelopes of cash. But today, radio barely holds a fraction of the influence it once did. Streaming is everything now. So the new gatekeepers are these black box digital streaming algorithms and massive editorial playlists. Think about playlists like Today's Top Hits, which has over 35 million followers. Regulators are deeply, deeply concerned that the exact same illegal tactics from the 50s haven't disappeared. They've just shape-shifted into a slick, modern, hidden digital format. Which brings us to Section 2, the loophole, specifically discovery mode. We really need to look at how this alleged manipulation operates, essentially right out in the open. Here is a breakdown of how Spotify's discovery mode actually functions. It's a simple three-step process. Step 1, an artist or a label formally opts into the program. Step 2, they have to agree to accept lower royalty rates on any streams that are generated through this specific feature. And then Step 3, in exchange for taking that pay cut, Spotify's algorithm mathematically boosts that song. It makes it way more likely to be recommended to new listeners. Now, Spotify openly promotes this on their website. They call it a promotional tool. But critics, well, they look at this exact same transaction and they call it exactly what it sounds like, a modern pay-to-play scheme. And look, the crucial point here is that this isn't just some fun philosophical debate. Just last year, Spotify got hit with a major class action lawsuit claiming that discovery mode is unlawful, deceptive, and represents the absolute latest form of payola. Now, to be completely fair here, Spotify pushes back incredibly hard against this narrative. They argue that the feature doesn't literally buy plays, they say it doesn't impact their human-curated editorial playlists at all, and they are quick to point out that it is clearly disclosed in their app. But you gotta remember, discovery mode is just the part of the machine they are willing to tell us about. This new Texas investigation, it is aggressively hunting for the parts they aren't telling us about. Okay, Section 3, the smoking gun. Drake versus Kendrick. Now you might be sitting there wondering, okay, how does all this deep, behind-the-scenes technical data actually connect to the music I'm blasting in my car? Well, this is where the story gets genuinely wild. Think about the Not Like Us accusations. Drake officially accused Universal Music of utilizing irregular digital marketing tactics to artificially boost Kendrick Lamar's massive, inescapable hit. Before suing Universal for defamation, Drake actually filed court documents right there in Texas. And he is specifically seeking hard data on the exact roles that Universal, Spotify, and iHeart played in pushing Lamar's track. I mean, really think about the implications here. We are actively asking whether one of the biggest cultural explosions in recent history was genuinely organic, or if it had this invisible, high-powered financial engine basically forcing it to the top of the charts. The streaming platforms, as you'd expect, are heavily on the defensive right now. YouTube actually responded directly to the Texas probe with a very firm statement saying, YouTube Music does not participate in Payola. Our platform is built on the principle of connecting fans with the music they love, where popularity is earned through fan engagement. So that's a very strong absolute denial from YouTube. But it is highly, highly notable that Spotify has not yet responded publicly to this specific Texas investigation. All right, let's move to Section 4, the cost for indie artists. We've spent a lot of time talking about the billionaires and these massive tech corporations. But let's talk about who really gets hurt here. Because the whole promise of the digital music revolution, the whole pitch, was that a kid making beats in their bedroom in Costa Rica could fairly reach the exact same audience as a major label superstar. The digital algorithm was supposed to be this great, neutral equalizer based purely on talent. But the reality? If major labels, we're talking Universal, Sony, Warner, if they can just use their massive war chest to secure pay-to-win placements, then independent artists are fundamentally blocked out. You could literally be making vastly superior music and still lose, simply because the other guy paid off the algorithm. So what are the actual stakes? If found guilty, these platforms face a potential fine of $10,000 per single violation. And when you start multiplying that by millions of streams and thousands of playlists, the numbers become absolutely astronomical. But honestly, the cash fines aren't actually what has the music industry terrified right now. Not at all. The real consequence, the absolute existential threat to their entire current business model, is forced transparency. Think about it. If the Texas Attorney General forces these streaming platforms to publicly disclose exactly when a song placement is paid for, kind of like how radio stations are legally forced to announce sponsored content, it would completely disrupt how we discover music. You would finally know for sure if that track at the top of your daily mix earned its spot through pure merit, or if a label literally just bought it. It completely shatters the illusion of neutral curation. Which brings us to the core, super uncomfortable question at the heart of this entire explainer. Is the music industry fundamentally rigged? If this investigation ends up proving that the algorithm was always just up for sale to the highest bidder, then the entire promise of digital streaming was, at least in part, a total lie. It completely challenges how culture itself gets made. I really want to hear from you on this, so please drop your take in the comments. Do you think streaming Payola is a real, widespread issue, and do you feel like your personal playlists are actively being manipulated? Texas has just kicked open a door that the major labels have kept tightly locked for years, and we are going to be tracking every single development of this story. If you found this explainer valuable and you want to stay ahead of the curve, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You're watching Sound Pulse. We bring you the heavy-hitting, investigative music industry news that actually matters across rock, pop, and hip-hop. Absolutely no filler. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.